Hey everybody, I thought I'd do something a little bit simpler for today because I am still working on a larger video for later in the week for something else. It's a little bit of a surprise. But for now I needed something really quick and simple, and I see that Among Us is very popular. I'm not familiar with this because I'm not a big video game person. It's a really simple character to do, and I thought I can go through the whole stages of drawing it and inking it and coloring it, and I can show you how to do it. It's easy to follow along, or you can just watch me do it. I'm going to be using the tablet. You can use pencil and paper, use a crayon and your wall, whatever works. But let's start. Alright, I've opened up Clip Studio Paint here, as you can see, but again, you can use anything you'd like, any kind of program or any kind of medium that you would like to use. I've also done this on double time because the video itself stretched out for over 14 minutes, and it's such a simple, easy character to draw that even at double speed you should be just fine following along. I spent a little bit of time trying to get the proportions on this just right. I'm also overlaying the dialogue here, as you can tell, because I kept having some interruptions with my phone and with text messages, and since I was speeding it up, it was easier just to do it this way. Anyways, as you can see here, I've blocked out the shape and I've roughed out the length of the legs, which I figured to be approximately between a third and a quarter of the length of the body. I know these little things seem to have different heights and they're very crude, so you don't have to be specific. Try to get a sense of the volume a little bit with these, but afterwards I realized, again, because it is so simplistic, it's not entirely necessary if you have those, as long as you've got the proportions and shape right on this thing. As you can tell, I'm a very messy artist. I'm very scratchy when I do a rough drawing. I was also sitting on a very awkward angle, and I realized I was drawing him on a slight angle, so I went in and skewed the drawing a bit here just because I was careless when I started. This is one of the perks of being able to use a computer program like this as opposed to doing it on paper, so it was a little bit of a cheat at that moment. But from here, as you can see, I just sort of made the lines a little bit heavier so that I made sure I had the right shape here once he was in position. Then once I had him outlined roughly, I began to figure out where approximately I was going to put the little visor or shield at the top of his head. I guess roughly about 2/3 to 3/4 of the way up. It doesn't have to be perfect. I did feel like it was a little bit wide, and I know when I went into ink it later on, I made it a little bit narrower so that it looked a little bit more like the character that I was looking at. And I was using a reference on this, by the way. I do encourage using reference when you can. Not everybody has photographic memory. I know I don't, and I might do another video on reference later on, but I actually do encourage using it. Now from here I added another layer because the sketch was done, so I put another layer over top, and then I turned down the opacity of this one underneath because I wanted to start inking it. And then I went in and started testing out some of the different markers that come with, I should say, the different inking tools that come with Clip Studio Pro. And I picked one here that was a little bit on the rough side, and I kind of outlined it a couple times. I wanted it to look a little bit rough and a little bit crude, so I didn't bother trying to clean it up too much. And then I began doing the outline of the character. And again, I know this is a little bit fast, but I also had to go back and try and fix things a couple of times. Again, I'm spoiled with using Command Z. But once you have him here, like this is really easy. You can be following along at normal speed, and I'm sure you'll be doing just fine, probably better than me. I'm not a video game person. I don't know these characters very well, but I know a lot of young people right now. They're enjoying this, so I think I just went in and renamed the layers here so I could keep track of what was what. I made invisible the sketch layer underneath so I didn't find it distracting, and then I just went in and started popping in color. And I also wanted to figure out the shade color of this so that it adds a little bit of three-dimensionality to them. I think the toughest part was just getting the color for the visor on this and getting the dark undershadow for it. I'd like to mention something else about this, and I'll mention it now, is when I went to color in the highlight, the white highlight on the visor, and you'll see that come up in just a couple of minutes. I painted it with white. If you're using a digital program, color with white and do not erase it. I don't encourage erasing it. Reason being is because when I export this, I wanted to export it as a PNG, and that means that a PNG, if there's no background, it will export it without a background. A JPEG will just automatically give it a white background, but a PNG will sort of punch it out, and if you've erased that area of the shield for a highlight, it's just going to be like a hole poked through it. So I encourage you to actually color the white on there. So later, if you do decide to export it, if you want to export it as a JPEG, that won't make any difference. But as a PNG, because I knew I wanted to overlay this onto other things, then I say yes, color that area in white. This is especially important if you're doing things like logos and things like that. But you can see I've highlighted them in such a way that there is a light source coming from the upper right, so I've darkened the lower left half of the character. Now I've taken out the white background. As you can see, it leaves that checkerboard, but you notice as I'm coloring that highlight white, you're not seeing the checkerboard underneath, and that's because it's not being erased. It's actually got white color going over top. And then you'll see the character actually in my end plate in just a moment. But that is it. He is finished. Super, super simple. And maybe later on I might revisit this character because I know you can add a lot of things like hats and funny little extras to it. If you've made it this far, I do encourage you to give me a thumbs up and subscribe. It helps me out a lot. And be sure to check out a couple of my other videos. Thanks for joining me, and I hope to see you again with another video very, very soon.